Warning. The content on this channel is not intended or suitable for minors below 13 years of age. If that is you, please click off and come back when you're older. By continuing beyond this point, you affirm that you are 13 years of age or older.
This is an ode. When I started looking at doing this channel, a lot of games came to mind. Some I'd already beaten, often repeatedly, and some that I'd always wanted to play, but never got around to doing prior to the channel. YouTube was and is based on popular prevailing sentiment, which is fickle and is subject to changing winds as the most whimsical of coquettes imaginable, which perhaps spelled doom for someone who had no interest in chasing those things around. Still, IRL, sometimes people, when they find out I'm doing a gaming channel, will ask if I played certain games popular in a certain segment of the mass consciousness. Before I go into that, I have a theory that all people who enjoy video games go through a cycle, and it's the same cycle for everyone. It starts with blocky, basic stuff, and then progresses upwards graphically and in narrative as you personally develop and your tastes get more refined. Kind of like when you're a kid. Your taste is for fairly basic food in the beginning, and then it expands as new and different flavors are introduced to your palate. Anyway, for me, that video game beginning was stuff like Atari and Coleco. We had a bunch of handheld devices that just had red dots that you would move on the screen. That's how you played football and basketball and stuff. It was either a red like a dash, like a dash, like an M dash. It was either one of those or it was a dot, and that was what technology was capable of doing at the time. And then, of course, came arcades. For newer generations, it's stuff like Minecraft and Roblox. But here's the rub. It is really hard, if not outright impossible, to go backwards. So those two games I just mentioned bore me to fucking tears. And I find it really difficult to play them at all, let alone have any fun when I am playing them. So I moved well past those. And side-scrollers in general, which you can see there are some side-scrollers on this channel. Tokyo Jungle comes to mind. Check that video out if you want. It's in the One and Done playlist. But if I'm being honest, even most of the first generation FPS shooters, they're calling them boomer shooters these days, are also stuff that I'm having difficulty going back to. And I think it's because I lived through all that stuff. I've already been there, done that, and I got the fucking t-shirt, I bought the ticket, I took the ride, and it's just hard to go backwards, for me anyway. So I've played a lot of games during the life of this channel, and in many respects, the channel itself sort of rekindled my love of gaming, and it brought me current with an industry that had largely left me in the dust for a while. Most of those games I mentioned that I played during the life of this channel did not wind up with me doing series on the channel for them, and I felt like I should address that. Part of it has to do with what I just mentioned, which I found out the hard way, by the way, by buying, again, a lot of games I guess you call historical, that I'd once owned on physical media for PC and PlayStation and so on, but which I found almost impossible to play with my current sensibilities. So because of that moving past aspect I just mentioned, stuff like the Duke Nukem franchise, which I played a good amount of in the 90s, the first two Doom games, which I played a shit fuck ton load of in the 90s, Blood, Redneck Rampage, some of the Doom clones, MDK, and a host of others, I really have a hard time finding enjoyable right now, if I played them. Some of the ones I haven't played before, like graphically, it's a little jarring, but I can still kind of go through them. But those games, a lot of the clones and stuff are just honestly not that interesting. But I tried. I did. I bought them all again, and I tried to go through them when I kicked off the channel. I figured I could do several videos as an extended love letter to the games, which is more or less what a guy named Civi11 is doing, and doing very well, I might add. Definitely check out his channel. But I spent so much time with those games years ago, I can't go back. You know that whole you can't go home again? It's not the same. That's kind of what I'm running into. I can't go back, and it's like being on broadband or fiber optic internet and then trying to revert back to dial-up. It's just that level of not possible. I was going to do the early Resident Evil games. You can see I've done series on the more linear ones, but I was going to do the early ones also because that series, the Resident Evil series, really redefined console gameplay for me, starting with the PS1. Except for the old school Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 were honestly kind of annoying. And one of them I didn't finish. I think I actually finished Nemesis, the Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Resident Evil 2, I think I got bored. I think I might have finished the Leon campaign, but not the Claire. I don't actually remember. It's been so long ago. But so I still had in mind doing the first one for nostalgia purposes. But once I got into it and remembered how much I hated the fixed camera angles, I shit-canned that idea also. Both RE2 and RE3 got remade. And both remakes are actually pretty good. They did a really good job overall of keeping the tone intact while bringing the game up to modern sensibility. But those games are meant to be a back and forth sort of nature. And also the zombies being completely unrealistic bullet sponges. You know, actually, let me interrupt myself for a minute here on this. So this game is saying that a standard police issue sidearm, which can and does kill humans with one shot, particularly if that shot is to the head, somehow is now not capable of killing zombies with a headshot, with a single headshot. I mean, fuck, how? By what mechanism is that possible? How could a mutation, especially one like that is just barely happening, what is it? Developing the fucking skull plate so it's like made of titanium, or it's just a million times thicker, or the skin is Kevlar or something? I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, shit like that throws me out of the game. Like, I get irritated burning up all my ammo. I do. But also, like, if something is that unrealistic, like, okay, the monsters and stuff, you can say they're mutations and so on and so forth. Those things are not, like, realistic. We don't have analogies to anything like that in our world. But humans and humans that are virus laden, and it makes, like, if a dog gets rabies, it doesn't make it immune to fucking gunfire. You know what I mean? It's just like, what the flying fucking fuck are you doing? And so one of the recent game series I love the most, I love the shit out of it, is the Sniper Elite series, not the Zombie Army stuff, which is really kind of funky because that system works well for sniper stuff, but not for fast-paced run and gun as well. But the Sniper Elite isn't showing up on the channel because honestly it's way too involved and it's better served for something like Twitch. But those series do this right. No matter which weapon you have, be it a sidearm, be it your rifle, be it a trench gun, be it a machine gun, whatever, a fucking headshot is a headshot. Boom, down, you're the one kill wonder, but not here. Not in the Resident Evil remakes. Anyway, I didn't really enjoy spending time in those worlds, the RE2 and RE3 remake world. Like, RE2, the fucking police station has these goddamn puzzles. These statue puzzles. Like, what the fuck? What police station in their right mind would ever do that? You gotta run around this building finding these fucking stone things to put in some sort of key. No. Bullshit. Bullshit on that. I mean, okay, the Resident Evil world, everything is tunnel underground, right? Because fucking Umbrella, somehow, without anybody noticing all this equipment that it would take to do this shit, right? The gameplay is fun, you can forgive some of that. And the gameplay isn't super fun in those games. Like, RE3, I think, is a little bit better. It's a little more fun, to me anyway, than RE2 was. But RE2 is just not, like, it is so far removed from what is reasonable that The police, all kinds of fucking shit in that game. So RE2 wasn't really a game that I found enjoyable enough to try to do really for the channel. Because I do really try to find stuff that at least I'm going to have a good time playing. And with RE3, I actually considered it because Super Sweary Jill made me crack up repeatedly. But that series, it's a very, very short game. And you fight Nemesis in boss battles repeatedly. It's just a shit ton. Outside of that, though, you can stun him, but you can't. Like, he's indestructible up until certain storyline events, which is. I struggle with it because it's just a little bit too convenient. But if I was going to do one, it probably would be the RE3. But I didn't really enjoy either one of them enough to actually go through and do them again. Sometimes I'll start playing a game, and if I really like it, I'll actually just start, like Stray, I'll start completely over, just wipe out all my saves and stuff just so I can start fresh. And I usually will know within like the first 5 or 10 minutes if it is something that I want to do for the channel. And those two, Resident Evil 2 was pretty obviously not anything that I considered suitable. Resident Evil 3, I thought about it for about half the game, and just, there's other stuff that, a lot of people are doing that, and there's other stuff that I would rather call attention to. Not like this is a super popular channel, but, the internet's forever, and somebody might stumble across it, you never know. At least one person is getting some of the stuff out there. That isn't the whole of it, though. Other game franchises I've loved, like the Dragon Age series or Fallout 3, they're both too long and they're too subjective to player choices. I ran into that also with Vampire. So the Vampire series is one of the reasons I cut it short. So unless I wanted to upload really, really long segments that were probably better served for something like Twitch, they just weren't like super suitable. And with not so much Fallout, but with the Dragon Age, it gets highly personal. You spend a lot of time with these characters, perhaps even weaving your own heart and soul into them. And it's a very intensive experience, but it's relative only to you, the player. So those aren't really videos that showcase like cool ass stunts you can do and how somebody else who's watching might be able to do them or can get past a certain part. Many of those are specific to your particular game session only. And if you're a big fancy ass YouTube or Twitch personality, people might be interested in what choices you made. They might be willing to watch that, but not for me. Then there's also the case of things like Death Stranding, where the first 9 chapters, all the single-digit chapters, are really good and pretty enjoyable. But that starts to change when you notice that you're repeating the same fucking missions over and over again. Hey, we all got into grinding with the first Zelda, right? The old school Nintendo, and mining for rep and levels and shit. It's a tried and true things, right? Right? Except this game, Death Stranding, doesn't pay off for the hours that you invest in it. And I did a tweet thread if you're interested in my experience with that, but instead of rewarding you for slogging through and completing the bullshit it throws at the end, once you actually complete this fucking task that the main NPC characters keep telling you is the prime mover driving force, the game treats you to more of the fucking same. Except now it's just the bad parts. The shit sandwich without the bread. And stuff like that, it gets a Twitter tweet thread, but not a gameplay video. If I did a gameplay video of that game, it would cover like 2.5 months of daily uploads. And nobody's going to stick around for that. Obviously. At least not on YouTube, maybe on Twitch, but I have my doubts. I actually debated Twitch for some of this. But then I need to learn how to do that, and I'm lazy. There will be more to this actually too when I do the closing time video, which will be at this point coming up in a couple months probably. Well, actually about a month from now. Unless something drastic changes. But anyway, maybe in the future if anyone gives a shit. Which they heretofore have shown no signs of doing. Then maybe I'll look into doing Twitch or doing more stuff here. But instead I have to look at the games while I'm doing this. That's reasonable to do. And I mentioned that's why Vampire became a series. I had to basically just kind of cut short in the middle. I think most games for this type of channel work when there's a fairly narrow and specific player path, not something that branches out more than a fucking forest, and every choice takes you potentially somewhere else. As a viewer, honestly, I wouldn't watch that, no matter who is doing it. And that's why, as a creator, I also won't film it. And also why there's only a silly video about Shadow Warrior 2. That was my Christmas gift to you guys. A game I greatly enjoyed playing through twice. And if you want more on that, that's in that video. You can check that out. You look at the GTA games. A lot of the videos on those are fairly narrow. Either with scenarios with customized skins for the characters, or otherwise very selective events. In San Andreas, for instance, I really enjoyed running around with the dude just in skivvies, and I gave him a bodybuilder physique, and then I turned the hunger thing off because that was fucking dumb, and developers should never use that because it's fucking dumb. It's an idiotic mechanism that just makes gameplay a pain in the fucking dick. Or if you're a girl, a pain in your fucking ass or cooch or whatever. It sucks. It's bullshit. So game developers shouldn't do tedious bullshit in games. But anyway, so if I was to do San Andreas, for instance, it'd be like 1 or 2 videos, maybe at the most. Saints Row 2, played that. In fact, I'm still playing that as I'm filming this. I built this really silly character, and I tatted her up completely. Then I took all her clothes away, and I'm having her run around nude doing missions, right, just to see how the other NPCs react to her. Obviously, if I was to try to put that on the channel, it'd be an age restriction problem. But again, it's maybe 1 or 2 videos tops. I love playing Wreckfest, and it's one of my few daily games. But again, it's a highly user-specific experience, and a lot of it is the same shit over and over again. And, I mean, if you're a viewer, can you reference a Deer game? Maybe. Or at least an approximation. But you'd have to work at it, and then I'd have to actually go through to show you my tree of choices that took me to get there, and even then, still only maybe. But does anybody really want to see that? Anybody care? I mean, as far as I can tell, the answer is no, which is why a lot of the games I bought for the channel wound up decidedly not being videos, or at least not video series for this channel. Some of them could work as compilation videos, but there's already people like Civvy I mentioned, and Dartigan, and G-Man Liz, and they're already doing that sort of thing way, way better than I'm capable of doing. And this is really was meant to be more of a gameplay channel. Also, to do that, I'd be filming fucking forever. Okay, maybe like 2 weeks for one single video, and I really just don't have that in me. Moist Critical Charlie does, and maybe some of the others do this also. He does a really smart thing by doing the gameplay itself on Twitch and then using those videos to edit things down into his Moist Meter breakdown videos. But again, like those other names I mentioned, you should all go and check out. He's doing it at a level way higher than I'm capable. I'm basically doing what I can, how I can, with what I have available. And that's really it. That's why I can't do some of this other stuff. That's why I'm making a lot of the choices that I am. So now instead of trying to, when people suggest games, I do check them out. I check out everything. Every single game somebody suggested to me, I've looked at. But now instead of trying to tell them why something is suitable, I can just, I guess, point them to this video. So there you have it.